This is for Paula.
Thank you, Harald. Thank you for this warm welcome. And also, I'm grateful that being here after 15 years. I've been in Tallinn because we cooperated together in one project calling Adult Learning Driving License, together with Estonia, Norway and Greece 15 years ago. So thank you very much for inviting me, and especially thanks to Mrs. Sirje Plaks. And she has also this very unique last name, as she told me. So there's a lot of synonyms, metaphors today. Well, when I've been coming to your country, it's always that, you know, this working areas doesn't allow us to search a bit about the country when you're going, because 14 days ago I was in Portugal. In between we had this annual conference for adults learning in Slovenia. So I just came from that event in our country. But it was really, really, really inspiring for me. On the plane I usually use this news finances, we call them. There's a lot of short or long articles of different kinds of social and economic movements and thoughts. And it's written here that Estonia is among Switzerland, Ireland, and Lithuania, the example country of well-being, raising, and economic society which is kind of supporting and going to a bright future. So there's another reason that I'm very pleased to be here with you. Maybe just a little bit for introductory, what I've been working before I came to the ministry, because it's maybe important for the context. Maybe my comments later on will be a little bit different that you could heard from the ministry people. I've been working in a practice and development for 18 years in adult learning. My projects are learning exchange, if you ever heard about it, open learning centers, and in 2000 we have been developing in one private institution the first formal program online. We provide since then blended learning. And later on they decided not to have this face-to-face meetings. That was my insistence, but they don't do it anymore. So I won't tell you about the quality, but anyway, those are the things that I've been working in a practice, but also in development with the Institute of Adult Learning, which is, we could say, very well established in Slovenia, and it worked since 1991. Not 2000. So almost 30 years of tradition. Okay, let's go to this, not to spend so much time. This is the ministry house in the center of Slovenia, Ljubljana. I think that I need to give you a little bit of background information, and then I will try to present you some strategies and legislation that they are linked to adult learning very much. Of course, there's always evidence-based policy. This morning presenters also inspired me to refer to some of your cases, but I won't tackle that, otherwise I'm going to ruin the schedule, so we will go nowhere maybe. So maybe a little bit about development, implementation, and evaluation, about the programs and things that we are doing in adult learning, and then just few things about advantages and disadvantages regarding to legislation and strategy documents. Well, we have Adult Education Act since 1996, but it was, we could say, totally renovated, so we adopted another one this year, which major orientation is maybe that we are focused in it in guidance in adult learning, so we established public service in guidance for adult learners in this act, which is kind of, we could say, advanced level of the act. Also, But to this act is linked a national master plan on adult education, and the first one was actually adopted in 2005, and it lasted to 2010, and then we've got another one for a longer period of time, and we are in front of the next one as you do, so we are in the same, we could say, boat together in this Europe. We are thinking to put it for 10 years because the first one was for 5, the second was for 7, and we're going to see whether 10 years is okay. As I heard the presenters this morning, it's rather tricky whether you can cope with all of these changes in the society and put all of this, we could say, rational, but also visionary things in this kind of document. And related to that one is an annual plan that we have every year. At the moment, we have 9 ministries involved. Maybe later on I'm going to say just a little bit more about it. But this is the current master plan. And I'm going to just put it, no matter what, if you do understand Slovenian or not, probably just to have an impression how it looks like. Apart from that, there's also national strategic documents. One of those is Slovenian Development Strategy, which we've got last year. And it's also linked to skill strategy, the process, which is linked to adult learning. And this morning somebody said that it's very important that different kinds of research data come to real people, and that we do understand them and use them properly in a country and try to find out the solutions and provide plans and also goals for the future upon these researchers. Skill strategy is a process which OECD has been inventing, we could say, and it's also that we have been doing it with OECD, and the ending is going to be in December, when we're going to launch the second document inside of this strategy. And it's very much, I mean, the whole process is very much linked to PIAC results and PIAC research that we made, as you did also in your country. So hopefully those results, because we're going to get 8 recommendations for actions, for policy actions, that we are going to use them in the next document. And it's also somehow in a draft still, but we have national literacy strategy, which we are kind of proud on, we could say, because we joined together the whole structure of education sector. Before this one, we didn't have this together, so it was the young literacy of youngsters was in one strategy, but the literacy for adults in the other. So hopefully those 2 documents will also have an impact to the future master plan. Here we have involved also ESF funds. I don't know how is the percentage in your country, but it's always like that, that ESF funds are very much impacting adult learning, especially in these gaps in between the periods, because almost in our country, almost everything die in between the periods, so for 1 year, 2 years maybe even. And then we need to rebuild everything and find the proper professionals and also teachers for different kinds of programs for adults together and continue the work. And there's another thing, as I told you, PIAC results are very much put us in a position that we need to put our heads together, not only at the ministry, but all sectors. It means the whole government, as much as possible, and all stakeholders at all levels, not only nationally, but also locally, together also with the municipalities and other actors on the local and regional areas. So this may be for the beginning. Just a little bit, I'm going to skip this or go through very fast. We are just a little bit bigger than you are, barely 2 million of population. Our unemployment rate is 5.2, registered a little bit better. We have migrants and increasing of getting them in the country. So it's 83% of Slovenes, but all the others are coming from neighboring countries, but also others. And we have also Roma people, which also have some impact on our educational system. So educational level and structure is like that. Not educated or incompleted basic school, about 3.8%, basic education 23%, short-term vocational and upper secondary, so we just put it together, it's 21.1%, and technical general upper secondary school 30.2%, and tertiary and up, which means also master's and doctoral degree, so it's 20.5% by now, or the data is from 2016. Just to have an overview how it looks like. National priorities that are linked to adult learning and are also financed, we could say are determined actually in 2 documents, as I said, in a national master plan, but also in operational plan, which is linked to the cohesion policy. Maybe here is important to say that we have 2/3 of budget, sometimes it's even more, that it's exposed to ESF funds. So you can imagine it's always jungling and it's always mastering and it's always magician work to do how to spend this money properly and get to sufficient goals. Our goal may be just to get to this one. Yeah. You have the goal to reach by this indicator by 2020. 20%, we have 19, but we are much behind. As you can see down there, in 2011 we were here, but now we are here. We're just, now this is a little bit old data, but we barely reach 12%. So we are going to have a huge challenge how to cope with these things. So the operational plan is focused to make kind of programs that they're enhancing labor market integration, but also that we have link from the labor market, but also to educational sphere. We just realized, maybe just to put you an example, that it's very important not to only put programs in the educational area, but we need to cooperate closely with the companies. So right now, for those people that are low skilled, low educated, and they don't even have sufficient literacy skills, we provide guidance for the companies, but also guidance for the individuals at the companies, I mean for the employees, and then involve them in different kinds of literacy programs and those programs that develop key competences, link them together with the vocational trainings inside of the company. So those are the practices that we do. The document, I've been listening this morning presentations, and it was very interesting for me, because for us it's determined by law that we need to put in this document these things. So it should be done in the document, the goals and indicators that we need to put in, and then priority fields a little bit later I'm going to tell you what does it mean. Define measures we're going to take and define global amount of public money, public funds that is going to be implemented through different kind of activities and instruments. So in general, I'm sorry. In general, those priorities are linked to the formal, non-formal general education, and then the second priority is raising educational attainment of the population of adults, and then our job-related education and training mostly. Those are non-formal trainings for those that they're on a labor market or they're unemployed. And then we have activities that they are supporting the whole system, which means most of the work is doing our Institute for Adult Education. But there are also other actors that they are doing it, so it means research, development, supporting quality system, guidance and promotion, but also different kinds of application that we have in adult learning, but also professional training. As I told you, we have two documents, and the annual annual plan for adult learning is adopted every year on the government. And we have 9 ministries in current situation we have in it. So all of them, they're actually joining together different measures that they are focusing for adult learning, which means awareness raising, but also different special programs, as I told you, literacy programs, but also other activities that they have been exposed maybe in a previous slide. And it's also that we have expert council in a country, pretty similar than you, that kind of get an overview, an opinion, and proceed it to the government that then is adopted. And it's also that we are measuring the results of the National Master Plan goals attainment. Every 2 years they are at the government, and they look at it whether we succeeded or not. Maybe just to have an overview how our system is a little bit structured. So we have on this side, we have publicly recognized programs. They are not leading to the educational, those are leading to the educational attainment. It means secondary schools and short cycle higher vocational schools, but also primary school for adults, which is a little bit different than for youngsters. It's a special program. And then we have those non-formal, which leads to the attaining key competencies and different kinds of institutional trainings, also preparing for the national qualificational vocational qualifications. And then on the other, here we have special programs for adults, which leads to literacy. And we developed them in late 90s, but also in between 2000 and 2010, upon the results that we've got from ILS. So those programs are very much, sorry, technology, this is something which is always the challenge. Those programs are very much linked to the local areas of people and also life situations. For example, a literacy program which is linked to rural area population, they're dealing different kinds of stuff that they don't even realize that they're doing literacy stuff. So I'm gonna stop here because time is running out. And then we have on the other side, we have also different kinds of networking. So it means for each program and activity that is going on. For example, I'm going to take guidance and information centers. We have 17 of them all over the country right now. And we have also established coordination on a national level, which is responsible also for development, but also for teacher training, for counselors training, but also for different kinds of new elements putting in. For example, we have been developing also quality of guidance, and we have been also the partner in one policy experimentation European project, where we kind of get out some tools, but also evaluation, how the guidance process is efficient. And this goes also to the others, but you know this one very well too. We have Learning Week also and learning parades in different cities. We just find out that it's necessary to go out of the center of the country in different cities and gather together different activities, different actors, just to get enough awareness of lifelong learning. So this I already told in the previous slide, and here's also, those are the tasks that should be done inside of this package. Those are maybe just to show you a little bit plastically the providers, how they are linked to. So secondary schools mostly to the formal education, but which means also for adults. We have also different kinds of non-formal special programs for adults that they run. And also then we have adult education centers which are established by the municipalities, local authorities, and they provide both of them, but they also provide different kinds of activities and actions like, as I told you, you have seen in the previous slide, Lifelong Learning Week activities, guidance. They also do quality assurance, but they also run different kinds of other projects, we could say. So there's also NGOs a little bit linked to those programs, a little bit to those. And we have some special educational centers in companies which mostly do, some of them they did, but this is very rare, but they mostly do non-formal special programs for adults for their needs. Yeah, most of them in that line are public institutions, but these are private. As I told you, National Development Institute has this role to research, develop, has teacher training development, but also training and influencing policy with the findings, evaluations, studies, and so forth. You had also few decades. I will not bother you with this one, but maybe the second decade was very important to us because we just realized that ILS results, we were really bad in literacy. So we found out that it's very necessary to develop different kind of literacy programs that are focused on different target groups. So we have family literacy, we have different kind of vulnerable groups, we could say, literacy on rural areas for 40 plus. And then we have literacy for parents and kids and other things. So the next decade is related to this present time where we got PIAC results and we need to cope with these results. And the most important thing is, as your country is doing very well, as I heard this morning, cooperating different ministries together, different stakeholders, raising awareness about the issue, because we haven't got good results out of PIAC. Out of PISA, yes, our youngsters are very good, but PISA is very good, but by PIAC we are not so well. This is very gently said. This is the first result. We were almost on the end. And then we just realized that we need to kind of develop a model where we're gonna put studies together and then develop a model and training stuff, implementation in practice, and then developing again with the evaluations, and the circle is running around. So as I said, the model was to the literacy provision in 2010 and focused on vulnerable groups, because I'm gonna just skip on that because you're gonna get it, because I'm running out of time probably. Maybe just this one, it was already said this morning, but this one is maybe very important to underline again. We were focused in that period of time on vulnerable groups, on adult learning, so we actually developed different kind of programs, but also supportive activities, which is guidance. But now on, from in last 2 years, we could say, European Commission realized together with the member states that also outreach activities are very important. So it's very important how to reach people in different kind of areas of adults. Estonia has 1/3 of population in the Tallinn, as I heard. The taxi driver told me last night. Yeah, which is very good. I mean, we have less than 1/4 of population in the center of the country. It means in Ljubljana and surrounding. But there's always a lot of places out of urban areas which we don't reach, as I realized through PIAC, really good and really well with different kinds of activities on adult learning field. So somebody this morning, I think it was professor, told us that negative educational experience is something that it's a bad determination for those adults, that they don't even try to involve in the educational process, they don't even go, and some of them, by PIAC results in our country, showed that they actually refuse any kind of involvement in learning processes, which is actually the intention of our programs, to involve them and put them the other kind of experience, just to refresh their curiosity, and that they can find out that this could be something which is a good experience and worth to take in their life. So the whole process is actually linked in the targeting vulnerable groups, which means different kinds of outreach activities, guidance, but then engagement in life skills programs. This is the actually the result of PIAC. I don't know your data, I'm terribly sorry, but we didn't make it okay. So it means that about 30% of adult population in our country just attain level 1 and 2 of literacy, which is dramatic in a way. So we would need to put our heads together quickly and very strongly to make this data better. So this is the big challenge for Slovenia, and the next master plan is going to be probably one of those that it's going to be different than previous ones. Just maybe to have this data also. So by some comparison of data comparison made by some of our researchers, it showed that about 2/3 of this population is going to be on a labor market for 10 years, but maybe 1/3 for 20 years. So it means that there's a lot of work that we need to do about it. And this is only maybe some kind of explanation how much of progress we made after the results in 1998 with these programs, as I have been explaining before. So we started also a skill strategy process, as I told you, upon PIAC results. We had 10 ministries involved. Actually, one of those is the Governmental Development Office. Around 100 stakeholders and social partners and also municipalities. But we are not so good in involving municipalities when we have these national gatherings. I don't know what happened to that, but we need to overcome this problem. So it's a challenge also for the future. The process is financed by the European Commission in 80%. So the first phase brought us 9 challenges for the country, for the different areas of education, not only for adults, but different, also including youngsters, but also higher education. So we've got a lot of meetings and gatherings and workshops and thematic working groups. And afterwards, we've got kind of diagnostic report on adult education, on skills after first phase. But in the second phase, we just decided that it's necessary to focus on one challenge. Otherwise, it's not possible to do it something else, I mean, some more in a 1 year period of time. So we decided to use governance in adult learning. We found out that it's in a way very fragmented, and it should be very flexible, and it's very complex. So put all of these actors together, that they communicate properly by also to a sufficient legislation, but also other kinds of formal and non-formal cooperation. We found out that we need to do on that point quite a lot in the future. Those are only strategic documents that we have been using, because OECD structured this skill strategy in 4 pillars, we could say. Developing, which is mostly relevant for the educational sector. Activating skills, mostly relevant to the labor market, or to the labor ministry, we could say, but also economy. Putting skills effective in use. This is Ministry of Economy, but also other ministries. But all together are strengthening skill system. If some of them is weak, then we cannot actually probably expect good results. Those are the some pictures from the our meetings and workshops. But those are 9 challenges that we've got out. I will not repeat them if you agree. Maybe you just can see them in the presentations later on, when you probably, the organizer will carry on for that you are going to get all the presentations. So it's just, I'm going to just maybe just to underline, this is the focus of educational sector, and this is probably the focus of labor market ministry, who is responsible for labor, but also social affairs. And those are skills that their effectiveness in use, which means our companies and also other structures that are involved. But this is focused to the system, whether we need to improve it. And this one is being the second phase challenge for adults, for adult sector, adult learning sector, sorry. Yeah, those are the proposals, what we need to do, for example, on developing skills pillar. I will not read those slides, because I think it's better that you read it at home if you are interested in it. I just put it on the slides that you're going to have an impression how are these proposals prepared by the process, and how they are structured. So this is just maybe for your later, it's all the same for the activating skills pillar. For example, strong initiatives should be built up to people to work and employers to hire. For example, what they should do in the labor market, but in relationship, how to employ people and how to deal with employment. And then there's also using skills, and then it's also the system. Just to have an impression what kind of suggestions have we got. Hopefully we're gonna take them in preparation of the master plan. So the second phase was linked to the governance in adult learning. Most of us probably know what the government is. So in our perspective was strengthening cooperation between the ministries, municipalities, stakeholders, and all their linked to adult learning. So it means enabling different kind of conditions, doing governance properly, but also succeeding outcomes, which means different kind of initiatives, but also activities around, but linkages among the partners to be settled. And on the other hand, also mechanisms that they are linked to legislation and strategies. Okay. Yeah. As I told you, the major point was to look at the interministerial cooperation, how it works, does it work, where are the gaps, and what are the things that we need to improve. In relation also between the ministries and their stakeholders, different ones on different levels, chambers, unions, social partners and the others, but also down there to the municipalities where we found out that we have no strong link with the national level and we need to improve it. Okay, for the end. We could say on one hand that we have skill strategy proposals and recommendations, and we are keen on to build up new master plan. We have PIAC results, and we also made an evaluation and renewed life skills programs. But also we had this model, as I told you, and we have a new act, but those are challenges for the future. On the other side is always a question of money, of planning, and is also a question of good cooperation among partners that they're responsible for each stage or each area. And those are, well, actually, PIAC results are something that we need to cope with in the future, in the very near future, and to plan it well for the next period of time. So there's a lot of work and challenge to do. Hopefully you've got some ideas what it could be improved in your country by our cases, because I learned a lot from your morning presentations. Thank you very much.
We are running short on time, but I want to ask a couple of questions that we have over here. So I kindly ask you just to give a really short answer. First question, adult learning centers, are they independent organization or working in or with schools? How do they work?
Established by the municipalities, and well, they are partners with schools, but they are not established. They are established by the municipalities and they are independent.
Another question, is an education in all levels free of charge for everybody, including adults in Slovenia?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And third one, what is the percentage of like private organizations, non-governmental organizations that are providing adult education in Slovenia? What is the percentage of how much it's covered by private organizations? Can you
Public to,
estimate?
public to private, you said.
Education market share of NGOs in Slovenia.
Ooh, that's a good question.
A rough estimate, perhaps.
Well, we have approximately 300 registered institutions that are dealing adult learning. 10% of them, they're on a local level, so it means that they are public institutions established by the municipalities. Half of them, approximately, are probably private, and the others are NGOs. But it's also, I mean, depends on if the government is supporting programs by ESF, then it's free. Mm-hmm. If it's not, it's not. Mm-hmm. So it depends also who is actually asking for the money for the adults. Most of them, they're public institutions that they do that. Mm-hmm. Because it's very complex.
We still do have a couple of questions, but I would recommend getting in touch with Ema after the seminar. She will be here until the end, so that's an opportunity to have one-on-one specific conversations at the moment. Thank you for the presentation, Ema.
Thank you very much.